Hey guys, welcome back. So for this one, we're getting into Absolute Wonder Woman, written by Kelly Thompson, which in a way feels like a lot of different versions of Wonder Woman all put together, but somehow it still manages to feel very fresh and new. And you'll see what I mean as we talk about it. But with that said, if you're enjoying these videos, do be sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell up top to get all notifications. Alright, so heading into Absolute Wonder Woman issue 1. With how this is done, we jump back and forth between the past and the present as a way to bring us up to speed and give us an idea of who she's become. And it starts out in the Wild Isle of Hell, which is a prison for the great sorceress Circe, who initially appears to be forming something in the clay as the bright light of the sun shines behind her, and she's met by the arrival of Apollo. And when he arrives, he tells her to come forward, and he also says, "You may kneel," only for Circe to more or less tell him, "Nah, I'm good." And it's like a really clever way to show us Circe's relationship with the gods, or more or less her attitude towards them, which is practically what got her here to begin with. But we don't go too deep into that explanation here, not yet at least. But as it turns out, Apollo's come here to bring Circe, the last Amazonian baby, Princess Diana of Themyscira. And it throws Circe off for a moment because for one, who drops off a baby in hell? But also, she doesn't consider herself to be motherly at all. But Apollo just goes on to tell her, this is Diana, Princess of Themyscira. She's the last of the Amazons, and she's been taken from them by my father Zeus as punishment for their crimes against the gods. Her home is now hell, and you are her warden. She may never again be reunited with her Amazon sisters, and they will be imprisoned for eternity when their service to my father ends. And you may never say the word Amazon again. But as he's saying this, Circe can tell that Apollo's trying to hide that he's afraid of the child, and it kind of makes her wonder why. But just before Apollo leaves, it's decreed that the word Amazon is banned, with the intention of making it so that if Circe can't say it, the child will never know it. And before he goes, he asks Circe to try and say it, because he wants to make sure that the permaban's taken hold. So Circe tries to say Amazon, and it's redacted in real time. And again, with how this is done, Circe's just like, this is hell. What if it dies? And Apollo's just like, the gods don't care. This is where she belongs now, for however long she is. And over time, Circe's view of the child Diana, it would change. But at first, you just thought this was going to be a situation where it's like, this baby's not going to last, something's going to kill it sooner rather than later, and she won't be bothered. And that's why when there came a moment when she laid the child down, and a serpent came and approached young Diana, Circe was more or less like, well, this is it. Only for the young Diana to grab the serpent and yeet it from one side of hell to the other. And this would just be one of many times where the child would encounter a number of creatures that would come along and seemingly mean her harm, but it was almost like Diana had a way with each of them, or a quality about her that would soften the most treacherous of beasts. And with Circe, because of her experience, and I imagine just life in general, she would look at the child Diana, who at one point grabbed this baby dragon that tried to burn her and told it no and gave it a kiss. But this had Circe like, she's going to learn the hard way with that one. He'll singe off all her hair next time. But this quality that the young Diana had, it eventually started to work its magic, so to speak, on Circe. And at one point she says, how you fall in love with a child is by raising it. And that statement from her is something that's going to echo throughout the first issue, because over time we'll see Circe elaborate further on that concept. But before that, we're shown moments that had taken place over the years of Diana growing up, with her calling Circe her mother. But at a young age, Diana felt like there was a word that she was drawn to, but she wasn't sure if it was real, since she had never heard it. And at the time, Circe would just tell her, it's real if you say it. And you can tell right away that the word is Amazon. And we know from how this story began that Circe is not able to just say it. But also with Circe not really caring what the gods think, she eventually gets to a place where she's more or less like, okay, I'm gonna raise Diana and teach her magic and give her the tools to survive and to thrive. And if that just so happens to bring out of her who she really is, then Circe's not gonna try and stop it, because it's not like she wants to uphold Zeus's demand. In fact, she was practically excited that there weren't many rules left alongside of Diana, outside of Circe not being able to say the word Amazon. And with that in mind, I want you guys to kind of take notice of the fact that since Diana arrived, the Isle of Hell, which we initially saw as just a huge pile of clay, it eventually evolved alongside of Diana growing up into something that looked more like a home with bookshelves and floors and beds, almost as if Circe is sculpting Diana from a child into a woman by showing her love, teaching her magic, and their home on this isle has become a visual representation of that. And even here Circe goes on to say, raising a child is how you fall in love, but letting them go is how you prove your love, which from here sends us back into the present day. on Earth where a literal unidentified flying object has just appeared over the coast of Gateway City, where out from this structure comes a whole fleet of what appears to be like sweet and sour pterodactyls, though the story calls them harbingers, so we'll just go with that. But as they swarm to the coast, terrifying the people, it's here where Diana shows up. And when she does, man, this armor, this whole look, it has me thinking like, there's been rumblings about a Wonder Woman game coming out. And I'm gonna let you know right now, if they don't have a skin like this in the game, then that's just a criminally missed opportunity. But as she swoops in on this Pegasus, she quickly draws her Final Fantasy VII Buster Sword, and she goes to work. But throughout the course of this, we're told that this sword is the mythical Athena blade, forged by Hephaestus himself. But right away, I gotta say, this whole presentation, it's a welcome departure from what we usually see with Wonder Woman. And I don't know if it's the armor or the sword, the Pegasus, or all of the above, cause I'm digging it. But as she swoops into action, we see her dismount from the Pegasus and take out even more of these harbingers before she lands. And it's really hardcore what she does next, cause the next thing we see is her reach down into the blood and wipe it over her eyes before letting out this crazy stun attack to temporarily take down the rest of these harbingers for a moment, which right here just kind of leans into the dark magic aspect, which isn't completely new because we've had the dark witch version of Wonder Woman before. We've seen the dark god storylines, which I'm pretty sure we covered. But in this case, not only is the dark magic just a part of her regular skill set, but it's done in a way where it truly feels like this is part of who this Diana is. She is a princess, she is a warrior, she is a witch. And both the story and the art do a phenomenal job of making you want to learn more about her. But just after she stuns these harbingers, next she walks up to a nearby soldier and she asks him, "Are you in charge here?" But the dude just stumbles over his words, kind of like that meme where it's like when you fumble your words in front of a baddie. So she's just like, "Okay, that's a no." And she asks him, "Where's your superior?" So he just does the head gesture, showing her which way to go. But she goes on to let him know that they need to evacuate every civilian within a mile. And you could tell this guy, he thought all these creatures were dead and he thought it was over. He didn't know that they were just the opening act for what's really about to come out of this thing. And this guy's just asking all kind of questions until she's like, "You know what, we're out of time. You need to run." Because next this object just opens up and out comes Harbinger Prime. So Diana steps forward and she tells it, "You are not welcome, Harbinger Prime. This world will defend itself. I stand before you with the mythical Athena blade, forged by Hephaestus himself. It is more than capable of sending you to your maker. Go back to wherever you came from and tell whatever you herald that you were mistaken. This world is protected." Only for the Harbinger Prime to tell her, but it is not. And I mean, it was kind of obvious that this thing just wasn't gonna back down. So next, Diana calls for Pegasus to come through with the assist. So it swoops in shooting fire, and it looks really sick. Cause along with this, Diana having the whole dark twist of using dark magic and whatnot, like without context, she looks terrifying. But I find it to be one of the most compelling things about this story. When you take who she is as a result of who raised her, and you combine that with who Diana was meant to be, which we'll talk about more in a little bit here. But as she's fighting this Harbinger, it hits her with the laser eyes, and she's just kind of like laser eyes every time. But as she's getting her bearings, the Harbinger Prime calls for all the other Harbingers to rise back up and return to the fight. And when this happens, we see Diana use her braces once again, though this time around to deflect the laser eyes right back at Harbinger Prime. But when she does this, it gets frustrated with her resilience and attacks Diana with a much more powerful laser eye attack, in hopes of her going down and staying down, which from here takes us into another flashback in a moment that was very pivotal for Diana, when she asked Circe again about the word that she'd never heard spoken, which at the time had Circe like, "I thought you might ask about it again." But also with bringing this up, Diana told Circe that she was afraid, only for her to tell Diana that you're not afraid of a word, you're afraid of the change saying it will bring. And this led Diana to ask, "How can I know a word without having ever heard it? How could it beat in my chest so powerfully without knowing what it means?" So Circe told her, "Say the word, Diana. Say it and know it is what you are." And it was in that moment where Diana spoke the word Amazon for the first time. So of course next she asked Circe, "What does it mean?" And Circe told her, "It is simply what you are, Diana. You are an redacted." Which right away caught Diana by surprise, because this is also where Diana first learned about when Apollo came and he banned Circe from saying the word. But right here, even though Circe can't say the word Amazon, she's still able to tell Diana that they had a job to do. They protected the world above from the oldest monsters, which only want to feast on it. Without them, the world never makes it this far. Without them, maybe this is the end. Or you will say your name again, and become what you were always meant to be. And it leads to this very powerful moment where Circe tells Diana to say it, and she's like, Amazon. And Circe's like, again. So Diana says Amazon. So Circe keeps saying again, and each time Diana says it louder and louder as we come back to the present, where Diana gets up from that hard hit and she says Amazon. And really it's just the moments like this that more or less lean into what I was talking about as far as Circe sculpting Diana over the years. So it's like, yeah, she is a witch that has risen from hell, but she's also a princess that was raised with love, who was born to protect this world. And in addition to Diana discovering her true purpose, Zeus's attempt to take that away from her has only made her more powerful. So when she rises up to confront Harbinger Prime, it tells her, away warrior, you are beaten. Leave us as we must prepare the way. This world is ours now, only for Diana to tell it no. So it goes on to say, we will continue to hurt you if you insist. And Diana's like, oh, I insist. And this moment just takes us right back into what Circe said when she mentioned how you fall in love with a child is by raising it. Because it goes on to say, how you prove your love is by setting your child free and arming her to the teeth with the greatest weapons imaginable and watching her become everything she was always meant to become. Watching her change the world. As Diana goes on to say, I am Diana of Themyscira, last of the Amazons, daughter of Circe, princess of hell, witch of the wild owl, and you will not have this world while I still draw breath. As she rises up with her lasso nemesis, and she's ready to show Harbinger Prime what it do. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here, who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.